Donald Trump and these guys are finally being exposed for the things that we always saw them being exposed for. Let's start here.
This morning, the Trump administration facing new questions about whether they violated international law after an explosive report from the Washington Post detailing a second strike was ordered on an alleged drug boat off the coast of Venezuela to comply with Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth's orders to kill everyone on board. On Capitol Hill, some Democrats and Republicans even accusing the administration of committing a war crime.
It's a clear violation of the DOD's own laws of war, as well as international laws about the way you treat people who are in that circumstance. And so this rises to the level of a war crime if it's true.
Obviously, if that occurred, that would be very serious. And I agree that would be an illegal act.
In a rare bipartisan statement, the Senate Armed Services Committee says they will be conducting vigorous oversight to determine the facts related to these circumstances. The top Republican and Democrat in the House Armed Services Committee following suit, saying they are taking bipartisan action to gather a full accounting of the operation in question.
ABC News there talking about what is I think everyone already knew, but I guess now we have to actually confront war crimes being committed by Pete Hegseth under the guidance of Donald Trump and how they want to keep killing more people. So they've finally been exposed a little bit for the things that happened. But let me give you the details of which one of these strikes, because as we already remember, there was multiple strikes that they kept talking about they were committing.
On September 2nd, the president posted this video, a missile hitting a boat allegedly carrying drugs from Venezuela. But the Washington Post reports there were 2 survivors left clinging to the wreckage. The special operations commander overseeing the attack then reportedly ordering U.S. services to carry out a second airstrike to kill them all, allegedly to comply with Hegseth's orders to leave no survivors. Hegseth calling the report fabricated, saying the strikes are lawful and that they target designated terrorist organizations. ABC News has not confirmed the details of those orders. So far, the U.S. has hit 21 boats, killing 83 people. The White House has not provided any evidence of the crimes committed or identified the people killed. But the president is threatening to expand the operation, this weekend writing on social media the airspace above and surrounding Venezuela to be closed in its entirety.
That leads into potentially the next steps that are going down with this administration, but really fast, because there was folks that were responding to this and trying to figure out exactly what it is. If it's true, it's definitely a war crime. They have to begin to confront the things that people have been reporting and talking about. I'm sorry, not people. The folks in this administration have been openly talking about at press conferences, at their little circles of kissing Donald Trump's ass. Every time they get the opportunity, they talk about these illegal things that they're doing to random folks in the middle of the ocean, acting like it's whoever it is that they claim it to be, because that's what propaganda and presentation presidents do. It's how they operate. So I guess we have to find about whether or not this is, actually happened. And maybe, I don't have much faith in it, but maybe because it's bipartisan here, they're going to take part in investigating and looking into this. Because right afterwards, Roger Wicker and Chairman of the Senate Armed Services Committee, U.S. Senator Jack Reed, submitted this. The committee is aware of recent news reports and the Department of Defense's initial response regarding alleged follow-up strikes on suspected narcotic vessels in the Southcom area of responsibility. The committee has directed inquiries to the department and we'll be conducting vigorous oversight to determine the facts related to these circumstances. I just need them to not maybe accept the lies that are going to be given to them in this investigation. Because, I saw that it was reported there was going to be this investigation. Roger Wicker, Republican, was on board with it. But the wording of that kind of felt like we're going to ask them about it and we'll see if what they say is true. You're going to look into further aspects of it, or are you going to look into what it is that we already saw going on, the things that they were saying? The bottom line here is we've been seeing this. So let me show you more of what Representative Mike Turner had to say, since he had to answer for this and the concern and the fear of whether or not this is real before he finally says, okay, we have to do something.
The Washington Post is reporting that before the strike on the very first suspected drug boat in September, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth ordered that everyone on board be killed. And then when 2 of the 11 people on board survived, a follow-on strike was ordered to finish them off in the water. Now, some law of war experts are saying that that was illegal, that killing people who are no longer able to fight is a war crime. What is your view, and what questions do you have for the Pentagon?
Congress does not have information that had occurred. Both the chairman of the Senate Armed Services Committee, chairman of the House Armed Services Committee, and ranking members have opened investigations. Obviously, if that occurred, that would be very serious, and I agree that would be an illegal act. That is not the legal opinion or the information or the legal justification, the acts that have been described to Congress that are being undertaken in this. There are very serious concerns in Congress about the attacks on the so-called drug boats down in the Caribbean and the Pacific, and the legal justification has been provided. But this is completely outside of anything that has been discussed with Congress, and there is an ongoing investigation.
Representative Turner there was talking about how they've had these previous concerns about the strikes already, and somehow there was some kind of justification already explained to them. Did they share that with the American people? Because the justification I kept seeing was, trust me. The justification I kept hearing was, these narco-terrorists aren't going to bring more drugs to our country. And then as actual information came forward, talking about how it's impossible for these narco-terrorists to be bringing drugs to the country just because of the distance and the size of the boats that they were using, we just ignore those things, we call facts, to dispute all the things that they said. So for some reason, Mike Turner was convinced. I think it's because now that things look even worse, Mike Turner still doesn't want to really acknowledge what's right in front of us. So again, as the heat comes down, I think it's pretty clear to understand how Donald Trump will respond to this. I'm not sure if he can pass this on to Joe Biden. Let's see who he can possibly pass it along to.
The president's saying if the report is true, he wouldn't have wanted a second strike.
We'll look into it. But no, I wouldn't have wanted that, not a second strike. The first strike was very lethal. It was fine. And if there were two people around, but Pete said that didn't happen.
Does that make you?
I have great confidence.
Pete said it didn't happen. But at the same time, if it did, as Donald Trump said, he wouldn't have wanted that. Why would we believe that you wouldn't want that? And why wouldn't you know about it? You remember they could just last week or the week before, we were talking about the commander-in-chief shall not be defied by these 6 rogue Democrats who were talking about not following illegal, unlawful orders. I thought this guy knows everything. I thought everything he says is law. I thought he's the commander-in-chief. How the hell does the commander-in-chief not know what's going on with his Department of War Secretary, Pete Hegseth, who runs everything through him? He doesn't know all of a sudden. And all of a sudden, if it did happen again, which he's going to claim later that it didn't, he's going to stand by Pete Hegseth, or Pete Hegseth's out on his own. Maybe, I think maybe pretty soon Pete Hegseth might start learning that Donald Trump throws everyone under the bus after he forces them and tells them and demands their loyalty and their covering for his ass constantly. Here's a little bit more of the spinning in people's minds that have to maybe have something to do with stopping this, that are on the Republican side. Don Bacon is one of them as well, who's had a couple of things to say about Donald Trump negatively regarding this Russia stuff. But here specifically on these strikes and these revelations about these strikes, Don Bacon is still trying to figure a way around it.
The Venezuelan alleged drug boat that was struck one time, but then a second time as 2 survivors were clinging to the wreckage of the boat. Your committee, you're on the Armed Services Committee, is going to be investigating this, according to your chairman. How concerned are you that this may have been a real violation of the way, even if there's a question of whether or not we're at war, but that this would violate the laws of warfare?
Well, it is a big concern. Now, Secretary of Defense Hegseth denies it. We should get to the truth. I don't think he would be foolish enough to make this decision to say, kill everybody, kill the survivors, because that's a clear violation of the law of war. So I'm very suspicious that he would have done something like that, because it would go against common sense. So let's get the facts. And if the facts go to where the Washington Post article takes it, well, then we'll have to go from there. But if it was as if the article said, that is a violation of the law of war. When people want to surrender, you don't kill them. And they have to pose an imminent threat. It's hard to believe that 2 people on a raft trying to survive would pose an imminent threat. So let's get the facts first. The Secretary Hegseth deserves his day to present his side of the story.
Isn't it weird? There's a lot there. Secretary Hegseth deserves a day to present his side, maybe defend himself, unlike those folks that they just launched missiles at and claimed that they were, narco terrorists coming to give your kid some more meth. Main thing here with Don Bacon, trying to dance his way around this, is he wouldn't think that Pete Hegseth is foolish enough, that he's foolish enough to say, kill them all. Pete Hegseth was also quoted when he was running the veterans organization, when he was chanting at some strip club and harassing, women that work in the organization. He was talking about kill all Muslims.
A different former employee described Hegseth being at a bar in the early morning hours of May 29th, 2015, while at an official tour through Cuyahoga Falls, Ohio, drunkenly chanting, kill all Muslims, kill all Muslims.
Kill all Muslims. That was one of the things that they accused him of. And so now him saying kill all narco terrorists that we call narco terrorists in the middle of the water, why is that so crazy? Pete Hegseth is foolish. Of course he'd be that foolish. Matter of fact, he's even foolish enough to write this in response to this whole drama that's breaking down right in front of his face. He says, as usual, the fake news is delivering more fabricated, inflammatory, and derogatory reporting to discredit our incredible warriors fighting to protect the homeland. As I read this, I want you guys to remember he's responding to these reports that he killed people floating on debris after they shot at them and blew them up the first time. More. As we've said from the beginning in every statement, these highly effective strikes are specifically intended to be lethal kinetic strikes. The declared intent is to stop lethal drugs, destroy narco boats, and kill the narco terrorists who are poisoning the American people. Every trafficker we kill is affiliated with a designated terrorist organization. The Biden administration preferred the kid gloves approach, allowing millions of people, including dangerous cartels and unvetted Afghans, to flood our communities with drugs and violence. He went on and on talking about the last administration. Our current operations in the Caribbean are lawful under both U.S. and international law, with all actions in compliance with the law of armed conflict and approved by the best military and civilian lawyers up and down the chain of command. So it's a long diatribe about how they're doing the right things, which, again, I really hope that this investigation doesn't ask Pete Hegseth. And the answer is, sure. Pete Hegseth said that they're doing all this the right way. Of course he's going to say that. Would Pete Hegseth, who's a well-known liar, say, yeah, you guys, you got me. I don't know how you got me, but you got me. That's how liars work. But there's also this is from September 6th. J.D. Vance, in trying to carry the water on X, said, killing cartel members who poison our fellow citizens is the highest and best use of our military. Krasenstein responded, killing the citizens of another nation who are civilians without any due process is called a war crime. J.D. Vance says, I don't give a shit what you call it. I have a suggestion for Representative Don Bacon. J.D. Vance is foolish enough to say that he doesn't give a shit about war crimes. I feel like Pete Hegseth would probably also not give a shit about war crimes because J.D. Vance just said he doesn't give a shit about war crimes. I think we should take their word for it and understand that that's what they're about. As a matter of fact, when all these people with crazy Trump derangement syndrome that they keep talking about, we're talking about these being war crimes, I get the idea it's because people like the president of the United States sat at a desk with a bunch of yes men and women surrounding him, and he bragged about killing innocent people in these waters.
But we have noticed that there are no ships in the ocean anymore. We're seeing that there's like no ships, when the first one we went, there were hundreds of boats. Now there are no boats. I wonder why, meaning no drugs are coming across, probably stopping some fishermen too. I mean, to be honest, if I were a fisherman, I wouldn't want to go fishing. Just a nice, let's take a little trip, because I'd say, man, maybe they think I have drugs downstairs. I don't want that. I think the fishing business has probably been hurt, but
the fishing business is taking a hit. Maybe fishermen in the area would probably not want to go out there all that much. That I feel like, correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like a president saying that we're just killing anybody, we're shooting at any boats, and they could be fishermen, therefore they're too afraid to go and do their jobs, livelihood stuff, because we're killing anybody randomly. I feel like that's an admission of war crimes. I feel like that's an admission of just shooting at people with absolutely zero understanding of who it is they are and what it is that they're doing, and that they're also fishermen, as this guy pointed out. It's weird. It's weird how Trump also has Trump derangement syndrome enough to talk about how it is that he's doing exactly what it is that we said he's doing.